On today's show, it's a game day preview. 7 o'clock tonight, the Ottawa Senators will host the St. Louis Blues.
We'll see a brand new top line. One player will make their season debut, and Travis Green has already announced the starting goalie.
We'll get into all that, plus look at the Blues lineup on today's Locked On Sens.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome! You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. You can find us on social media at Sens Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram, free and available everywhere you get podcasts, including on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today is Tuesday, October 29th, and Pilsy, there's no if, ands, or buts about it. Linus Ullmark will start in goal tonight for your Ottawa Senators.
Let's go. That is a great omen, Ross, especially because if you're watching on YouTube, my Linus Ullmark jersey arrived in the mail just yesterday. I'm hanging it up in the studio. I'm all about Linus. I know the strain has been weird. We haven't seen what we want from him yet consistently. But, Ross, after talking to Creature, our guy with TSN 1200, a guy who's around the team a lot and speaks to the players and interacts with them, he had nothing but good things to say about Ullmark. He said this guy is a gamer. He has the right mentality. He seems like a leader in the locker room. So I'm stoked that finally we're not playing this, is he starting? Is he even playing? Are they going to have to call someone up? Nope. They've made it very clear that Linus Ullmark will be starting tonight for your Ottawa Senators.
And he's coming off a shutout, right, Pilsy? Albeit
two for two. You got to love it.
Albeit in 4 minutes and 46 seconds, that peculiar sequence in the second period where Forsberg had the skate malfunction. He went out, he went back in, he went out, and then ultimately was put in to finish the game. But Ullmark did go 2 for 2 in the crease. He starts in goal against St. Louis, a team that he's got a 3-2-1 career record against, a 2.28 goals against average, and a .922 save percentage. Now, the stats this season, not up to his standards. In 4 games, he's got an .885 save percentage, but much like we saw with Anton Forsberg against Utah, one good game can put him right back on track to being the elite goalie that we know he is. So what are your expectations tonight for Linus Ullmark?
Well, first off, Ross, I want him wearing his normal mask. I like the shiny mask, but we talked about it. It's not good juju to be switching up the masks like that. I know he's got one for home, one for away. It's a home game, so we know he's wearing the new Martian mask, but just stick with that mask. Let's start with that. That way, your head is always in the game. You don't have a different mask. You're not thinking about different things. Boom, easy. But, Ross, what I want to see from Linus Ullmark is he's got to shut the door early. The Ottawa Senators cannot afford to have a situation where they feel like, oh, no, not this again. And they're back to last year's habits where they're trailing a game early on with just a couple shots. And I'm not saying Ullmark has been guilty of that. I'm just saying for the psyche of this team, you cannot have it. And in The Athletic, Jeremy Rutherford wrote an article describing how almost every single game this year, the Blues have been trailing at one point or another or in multiple points in the game. So if you can get this Blues team on their heels early, we'll take a look at the lines coming up here, but they don't have a lot of offensive firepower, especially with 2 key forwards up front missing. If you can get them behind early and then play a tight defensive game with Linus Ullmark backstopping you, I think this team has the recipe for success.
The St. Louis Blues have been in northeastern Canada for a matter of a full week, whereas the Ottawa Senators flew back from Denver yesterday and were just off the ice at the morning skate. So there are a couple lineup changes for the Ottawa Senators we'll get to, but I do find it interesting that the Blues have been off since Saturday night when they played Montreal. So they're here, they're rested, they're ready. And the Ottawa Senators and St. Louis Blues have had a couple interesting games over the last number of years. So looking forward to another battle tonight at the CTC. If you're heading to the game, make sure to be loud. If you need a ride to the game, make sure to check out the GLEBE Central Pub Shuttle. There are still seats available for tonight's game. It leaves an hour and 15 minutes before puck drop, and we'll get you right back to the pub, leaving 15 minutes after. Pills, you want to rip off the lines here?
All right. Well, if I'm reading the lines, I'm doing them my way, Ross. Reading them left to right, nice and easy.
Boo.
Brady Tkachuk with Tim Stützle and Ridley Greig. Claude Giroux with Josh Norris and Drake Batherson. Noah Gregor with Zack Ostapchuk making his season debut, centering the third line with Michael Amadio. And the fourth line, Nick Cousins, Adam Gaudette, and Zach McEwen. On defense, Jake Sanderson and Travis Hamonic, Chabot and Jensen, and the Nodak Sens pair, Clevin with JBD. And in goal, number 35, Linus Ullmark. Let's go.
How was my Pillsy woo there? Was it good?
That was good. I'll let the people decide. The people are a big fan of the woo, but you can only do it naturally, Ross. So if you really felt that woo, I'll allow it. You can't force it.
No, I felt very good. I feel good with Linus Ullmark back between the pipes. Who is your locked on player to watch in tonight's game?
My locked on player to watch in tonight's game is number 71, Ridley Greig, with an opportunity to play on the top line. This is a chance for him to get his offense going. Mind you, he's only played 5 games because he missed a bit of time with an injury, so he's only got the 1 goal. But it's interesting, Ross, that Ridley Greig is elevated to the top line, and he's playing right wing. We've pretty much only seen him play center or left wing so far, so that's interesting. And then you look at the fact that Tim Stützle, obviously, it's been very clear that he hasn't been good on faceoffs. But Ridley Greig is 54% in the dot. He's won 13 and lost 11. So maybe he's put there to help out with the faceoffs a little, so Brady doesn't have to do it all the time. I'm not sure. But I'm going to be locked on to Ridley Greig here. I want to see him kind of spark that top line, even if it isn't offensively, even if it's just pissing off other opponents, and that gets Timmy and Brady involved in the game. Ridley Greig needs to be a spark plug for this team.
And early, please, because the Ottawa Senators sleptwalked through the first period against the Colorado Avalanche, and they need to come out at home and establish some dominance and some offensive output. I like that one. And at one point, he was actually moved onto that line for a matter of 5 minutes and 28 seconds in the middle of last night's game. And the numbers were all right. They had 4 shot attempts for, 8 against at 5-on-5. A lot of only the Giroux, Norris, Batherson line. Well, excuse me, and the fourth line were plus in that category.
And just quickly, Ross, the top line is not going to be going up against McKinnon, Rantanens, and players of that caliber up against the St. Louis Blues team. So they should have more success.
My locked-on player tonight, Tim Stützle. I'm sticking on the top line. We'll touch on Brady a sec, obviously playing in against his hometown team. But with Tim Stützle, you look at it, he's on a 4-assist streak. That's cool. 1 assist in each of the last 4 games. Beauty assist in the Colorado game, covering for Chabot after going end-to-end and dropping the puck there. Gets a shot on goal, and that's where I want to pick this up. Tim Stützle needs to shoot the puck a whole heck of a lot more. He had a 2-on-1 with Michael Amadio in the last game and decided to pass that opportunity up. He needs to rip the pill. He's shooting 25%, but he only has 3 goals. Math guy, that's 12 shots on goal. Timmy's got 18 hits, and I love seeing Timmy being physical out there, but Tim Stützle should never have more hits than he has shots on goal. This guy is a sniper. He just needs to get into that mentality. He scored 39 goals 2 seasons ago, but he just seems to be deferring to his teammates far too often. And when you're playing with Brady Tkachuk, get pucks on net so that he can do his dirty work right in front of the crease. And you saw him get that puck on net. And who was it? Boom. Nick Cousins right in front, backhand. It's in the back of the net. So I want havoc around the St. Louis Blues goal tonight. And there's no better way than having Tim Stützle shoot the damn puck. Give it to the German and then get him to put the puck on net. So I'm hoping for Timmy. I like the 4-assist streak, but let's make it a 5-game point streak. I'd like to see Tim Stützle light the lamp in tonight's game.
Yeah, Ross, maybe Daniel Alfredson can have a chat with Timmy being like, look, I played with a player similar to you and Jason Spezza. He would do everything he can to pass that puck. but you've got to change your style and you've got to be ripping that pill because you've got honestly one of the best shots in the team. So I'm with you. Let's see Tim Stützle shoot that a little bit more.
Meanwhile, it's Brady Tkachuk's 10th game against his hometown team. He's got 2 goals, 4 assists in 9 games so far. So you hope he's going to be ready to bring it tonight after a disappointing first 2 periods for him. Obviously, he gets on the scoreboard. That's great. He's got a point, at least a point, in 7 out of the 8 games. 7 out of the 8 games. Only the game against the Vegas Golden Knights was Brady Tkachuk held off the score sheet. Ironically, that's the game in which he played the most. So that's just kind of those random stats anomalies there, but had a goal and 2 assists in that game against Colorado. Pilsy, they added one to the late Claude Giroux goal. So that's a 3-point night for Brady Tkachuk. He's up to a great start to the season offensively with 11 points in 8 games, but I think Sens fans in the comments were pretty harsh on Brady in the postcast on Sunday and in yesterday's show. They want to see more in the early going. And I just think you talk about Alfie. How about Chris Neil and the old school moves that he used to do, just running guys over on the first shift of the game? I'd love to see him establish some physicality in the first period of tonight's game. Those are things we'll be watching for. We got another key to victory at the end of today's show. But let's take a look at the St. Louis Blues, who are without their best player. That's all coming up next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel's America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers can get $5 new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. That's a much better deal. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com today. Ross, I'm on FanDuel right now, and they've got the Ottawa Senators as -164 on the money line, but they also have a fun bet. You can bet that the Sens versus Blues will be the highest scoring game on tonight's slate of NHL games, and that's at +490. So if you think goals are going to happen, not with my pal Linus Ullmark in net, but maybe the Sens can get the most goals all on their own, then you can place your bet at FanDuel. So guys, check it out today. New customers will start with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Gametime. You need last-minute tickets. Of course, you want them at the lowest prices, so get them at Gametime. Last night, I used Gametime to go to the Winnipeg Jets-Toronto Maple Leafs game, and I used Gametime to get in the door for $50 all in. And I knew that price before even pulling the trigger because there's no hidden fees when you turn on include all fees, because that's the worst. You get it, you're like, wow, I got this great deal, and then all of a sudden, it doubles. Not at Gametime. Make sure you get them, whether it's comedy, theater, sports. If you need tickets to a live event, go check out Gametime and add a new account, create a new account, sign in, and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms do apply, but download Gametime today. Use code LOCKEDONNHL, last-minute tickets, lowest prices, and you'll also be able to get the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets. That's code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, Philzy. We are here on a Senators game day, which means the postcast will go live after tonight's game. It's a 7 o'clock start at the Canadian Tire Center in Canada, Ontario. And if you're considering going to this game, why not grab tickets for the GLEBE Central Pub Shuttle? Support us by supporting them. Get your tickets online, GLEBECentralPub.com, and you will be able to click, yes, you heard about us on Locked On Senators. Huge supporters of the show, so make sure to support us by supporting them. And if you're going to Bruce Springsteen too, they've actually got a shuttle for that as well. But we're back to the game at hand. A huge game, Pilsy. Is it too early to call this a must-win game?
I don't know, Ross. Let's ask Ross Levitan of the Sens Central podcast on last game's Postcast if he thinks it's too early to be pulling out the must-wins.
Pilsy, you know that there's nothing in any postcast that can be held against me 24 hours later. That's blowing off steam. We vent or we vibe on the postcast, and I was in a very prickly mood, not only because I had a long weekend at work, had a lot going on, got all my chores done. I felt like I was putting myself in the best chance to succeed in that game on Sunday, watching it on the couch. The fact I got up off the couch to fist pump at 2-2, and before I could even sit down, they were down 2 goals again. Yeah, I was in a bad mood, but hey, it's a new day. I will say, must-win game. If you lose that, then what? So that's a bit of a problem here. I'll say it's an extremely important game. Tonight
No,
is
I'm not.
important.
No. I'm not letting you backtrack this. We talked about it being a must-win in the postcast. We talked about it being a must-win with Creature. You're not backtracking it now, Ross, because I'm hopping on with you. It is a must-win. You got to win this game. You come back from a road trip where you only get 2 points. You got to beat those road woes. November is right around the corner. That's scary. You think Halloween's scary? November is scary. You have an opportunity to beat a St. Louis Blues team at home when they don't have one of their top players. Matthew Joseph is not going to get the revenge game, so you got to take advantage of that. This Ottawa Senators team needs the boost. Linus Ullmark needs to show that he is the goalie that we hope he can be. And moving forward, if they go from 4-2 to then 4-5, especially Ross in a tough Atlantic division. I know it seems crazy, a Tuesday in October up against the St. Louis Blues, but I'm with you. It's a must win. This is our first must win of the year, right? Did we say the home opener is a must win?
No.
So our first must win game of the season.
Are we going must puck line? Because I did say the last 2 days they got to win emphatically in this game.
Let's start with must win and hopefully puck line.
Okay, sounds good. I'll be going over to FanDuel for that one. Here's who they're up against tonight. It is the St. Louis Blues coming to town. Again, as I mentioned, they've been in northeastern part of the continent for a long time. Last Thursday, they got to play the Toronto Maple Leafs. They were able to get a 5-1 win there, despite being outshot 41-27. And then they lost on Saturday night to the Montreal Canadiens, despite outshooting them 31-26. Tonight, we're expecting the lines to look as follows. Pavel Buchnevich, top line center between Alexandre Texier and Jordan Kyrou. The second line, Braden Shen centering Brandon Saad and Jake Neighbours. You've got Dylan Holloway between Zachary Bolduc and Kasperi Kapanen, and Radek Faksa between Alexei Toropchenko and Oscar Sundqvist. On the back end, it's Ryan Suter with Colton Parayko, Philip Broberg with Justin Falk, and Pierre-Olivier Joseph with Scott Perunovich. In goal, we expect it to be Jordan Binnington. If not, Joel Hofer will get the start. Now, a couple absences before we get to our lookout player. Yes, Ryan. Why am I saying Ryan?
2 first names.
Robert Thomas. There we go. By far their most talented player in the organization. He's an absolute stud in the making and still young, already a cup champ, had 6 points in 7 games before suffering an injury that's going to keep him out for quite some time. Had 2 assists in his last game as well. 86 points in 82 games last year. So they'll be missing him. They'll also be missing former Ottawa Senator Matthew Joseph, who will miss this game with injury, suffered in the game against Montreal. He's been sent back to St. Louis for further evaluation. So that's unfortunate. I'm sure he would have gotten a little twirl, I don't think he's a tribute video guy, but he would have gotten a tribute graphic, right?
I don't know. The tribute videos, that whole debate has really gone crazy. It's kind of like the participation awards of this generation.
Or like must-win games on Locked On Sens.
No, that's legit stuff, Ross. Must-win games in October on Tuesday night against Western teams. Yeah. He would have got a graphic and a twirl. Let's go with that.
Lookout players to watch. I'll start. Pavel Buchnevich. He is filling in at center for Robert Thomas. He's a natural winger. Sens fans might remember him from when he dominated the Senators when he was with the New York Rangers, but he's in a new spot in terms of the lineup, and he's going to be there's a lot of pressure for him to produce offensively. He's got 18 shots on goal in 9 games, 3 goals, 3 assists. He's +6, though, responsible defensively. And if they can shut him down, there's not a whole lot of offensive firepower up front. So I think that the Senators should really be focusing on Pavel Buchnevich tonight.
And I think Ross, like, especially, he's playing as their number one center, a guy who isn't typically used to playing center. So I think you really should be able to exploit that, hopefully.
10 points in 13 games, by the way, against the Senators in his career. Only 2 goals. Done a lot of playmaking, though.
Which is surprising because Buchnevich, that guy can put the puck in the back of the net.
He's a shooter.
For my lookout player, I'm going Philip Broberg. He is second on the St. Louis Blues in points only. Jordan Kyrou has more. Broberg in 9 games, 2 goals, 5 assists, good for 7 points. He's a +5. And Ross, the change of scenery has been incredible for him. Obviously, everybody's aware the famous offer sheets for both him and Holloway. Dylan Holloway. Yep. And Broberg, I kind of forgot, Ross. We were talking about this. He's an 8th overall pick from a couple of years ago. So a lot of potential.
Holloway was a first-round pick, too.
Probably not 8th overall, but
14th overall.
Yeah, so those are 2 first-rounders. St. Louis was able to take a look at Edmonton's situation and realize the offer sheet makes sense for them. Did they have to overpay a little bit to scare off Edmonton? Yeah, I think that's fair to say. But right now, from what it seems like, St. Louis Blues fans are very happy with the player they have in Philip Broberg. So I'm going to be looking out for him tonight.
Yeah, he just has that prototypical big defenseman, great skater, and you just thought that there was a little bit more offense to unlock, and he certainly found that. Only 1 point away from tying a career high in a single season is outrageous this early, and it feels like defensively he's been relied upon there too. So I'm gonna be looking out for him as well. Just while you're on the topic of Dylan Holloway as well, he's got 3 goals in 9 games, 4 points for the St. Louis Blues as well. So that's how the Blues match up. I'm just looking right now to see if there is a starting goalie yet. And it doesn't look like that's the case so far. We do know, of course, Linus Ullmark is starting, and it's unconfirmed, but Daily Faceoff is leaning towards Joel Hofer getting the start, which would be the first real backup that the Senators would face this year. You could argue that Justus Annunen, but the next night, Georgiev just allowed 5 goals on 26 shots. He's got an .850 save percentage.
I'd be interested to see what St. Louis Blues fans would say, but I feel like this is more of a tandem, Binnington and Hofer, rather than traditional starter and backup, because Hofer, that's actually the guy you probably don't want to face, Ross, as he's been very good this year. 3 games, 3 wins, a 2.32 goals against, and a .932 save percentage. So I know I talked about FanDuel's daily special. Sens, I think I said +490. It's actually +430 now. I think it's switched. But for this game to be the highest scoring game of the night, with Linus Ullmark and Joel Hofer playing, I'm leaning more towards betting the under on this one.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And not only that, Binnington's lost 4 of his last 5 starts. The one win, though, was a 40 save performance in Toronto. So he has had that pop, and in his career against Ottawa, he's 3-1 with a .935 save percentage. I'm not sure if Joel Hofer's played against the Ottawa Senators in his young career, but he's a good Winnipeg boy, so I'm sure that he'll get the job done there, but hopefully not tonight, as the Ottawa Senators are looking for a victory against the St. Louis Blues. It is a 7 o'clock puck drop at the Canadian Tire Center, and on the other side, we will get you some keys to a Senators victory, and what are the expectations for Zack Ostapchuk making his NHL season debut. We'll see how he translates his game from a very good start against with the Belleville Senators. Just pulled it up. Hofer is 1-0 against the Sens with a 37 save performance last year, so a .949 save percentage. Okay, keys to the victory on the other side. You're listening to Locked On Senators. It's your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Mary J's. Guys, Mary J's is a locally owned cannabis dispensary in the Ottawa area. Started off with 3 best friends making a life-changing decision, and through hard work and dedication, they got 4 stores in Ottawa. You can check them out at Riverside South, Orleans, Greeley, and Russell. They got the best and newest products in the market, and they're always adding new stuff to the menu every week to keep it fresh. Mary J's offers competitive pricing. In fact, they're going to price match any store in Ottawa. That means you're guaranteed to get the best price around when you go to Mary J's. Not a math guy, but you can't beat that. Mary J's offers the best customer service by having friendly bud tenders who are always ready to help. One of the owners, Dashy, diehard Sens fan, absolute beauty. You can usually find him at one of the 4 stores. So go say what up to Dashy, pick his brain about the Sens and all the latest, greatest products that Mary J's has to offer, and check out their website and pick yourself up a loyalty card. Check it out today, guys. Mary J's.
Best in class. Today's episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Do you like getting in on the action? Well, Prize Picks is there for you. At Prize Picks, they've got you covered for everything in the daily fantasy world. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. So run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It's the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Prize Picks, the best place to get real money by inventing the flex play. Prize Picks means that you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks now offers Venmo too. They've got the sign-up guarantee, which is awesome because you'll get $50 instantly when you play $5. So you don't even have to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts, like they've got Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value to your lineup. My favorite play, Drake Batherson over on the goals. This guy's been on a scoring heater, and he didn't get one last game, so it seems like he's due. And I'm going to do it tonight. Sydney, he better play. Sydney Stützle, hey? We'll put those two together. Tim Stützle, over shots on goal. Give me the over shots on goal for Tim Stützle. Shoot the puck, Timmy. So, if you haven't checked out Prize Picks yet, make sure you get Prize Picks by downloading their app and using code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's LOCKEDONNHL, $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, Philzy, fired up for this game tonight. 7 o'clock puck drop, and we will have the postcast for you right here on Locked On Senators YouTube after the game, and then it will be posted onto our audio feeds. Philzy, Zack Ostapchuk makes his season debut at 7 NHL games last year.
Yep.
What are your expectations for the young 2021 second-round draft pick, who's still, by the way, looking for his first NHL point?
Well, Ross, I was a little bit surprised that they're putting him as the third-line center. I really thought Gaudette has kind of shown that he deserves an opportunity to get a boost in the lineup. I thought it was going to be Gregor, Gaudette, and Amadio, but nonetheless, it's a Stapchuk. But
well, I'll say that that's because I think the fourth line's been their most consistent, which is great for the four. Other than the Norris, Giroux, Batherson line's obviously been awesome, but consistently for the line that's been together the longest, it feels like they're able to produce. We've had a 2-goal game from Zach McEwen, a 2-goal game from Adam Gaudette. Like, let's go.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, if you want to extend that, it wasn't on the fourth line, but Cousins had a 2-point night up against the Avalanche as well. So those guys are clicking. I guess keep them together. But Zack Ostapchuk has earned this call up in 6 games with the Belleville Senators. He's got 1 goal, 4 assists, good for 5 points. And I think he's the type of player where they kind of want to see what they got from him, even though it's pretty early on. I think he's earned a call-up as well. And to be put in between Noah Gregor, a guy with good speed, we've liked his play so far, and then a guy that needs to get things going in Michael Amadio, I think that's an interesting spot for him. I got to assume, Ross, he plays around 13, 14 minutes tonight. And yeah, let's see him get those two guys going, Gregor and Amadio. So I'd like to see a point from Ostapchuk on this third line.
If that third line can come through with some offensive output in tonight's game, the Senators are in a good spot, because it's been a bit of a dry area for the Senators, being able to get that third line scoring. And if they're able to find something here, it feels like you got two guys who play the game extremely fast with the Ostapchuk. Actually, all three of them can fly. So that in itself will add a level of speed that Ottawa didn't necessarily have in the last few games. They were obviously outmatched in terms of their speed of their game and the puck movement, all that with Colorado. But I like this move to get him in the mix instead of calling back up Cole Reinhardt. He was fine in his 2 games, but I think that you're looking for a little bit more of a spark lower in the lineup, and I'm hopeful that Zack Ostapchuk can give them that in tonight's game. Pilsy, a key to victory for you. For me, I will say let's let this goals against average drop a bit here. 3.75 goals against per game. It's the 5th worst in the National Hockey League. So we got to clean that up, and I'm looking for a strong defensive performance, not only from the goalie, not only from the defenseman, but I'm sick and tired of seeing some forwards floating in the neutral zone while the puck's all the way in below the hash marks. We need a commitment to defense from all 18 skaters, and that, to me, is a key to victory tonight.
So I already mentioned my key to victory a little earlier, which is get out to a hot start and make the St. Louis Blues team trail. But I'll kind of latch onto what you were saying there also, Ross, is the St. Louis Blues, this is not a team that's heavy offensively, and especially without Robert Thomas, especially without Matthew Joseph. They're actually 23rd in the league in shots per game with 27.9. So I think this is a perfect get right game for Linus Ullmark. Just settle in. You're not going to have a flurry of shots like you're used to seeing when the Ottawa Senators defense is in front of you. I think this is going to be a game where, as long as the defense and the rest of the players let Ullmark have those sight lines and can battle out front and deal with any rebounds that come their way, there's no reason why Linus Ullmark can't be successful and then start off a really positive momentum shift for this team defensively. So get off to a good start up against this team and let Linus Ullmark see the puck, because if he can see it, I'm confident he can stop it.
The St. Louis Blues, not only are they shooting the puck fewer than others in the league, but they're allowing the 7th most shots against. Obviously a bit skewed, allowing 41 against Toronto on Thursday, but it is worth noting that you can pepper their tendies, and I'm confident in that. I'd also like to see the power play produced. They didn't get one against Colorado, so to me, this is a moment where the second best power play in the National Hockey League can come through, because St. Louis's PK is right there with Ottawa. Ottawa's in 21st in the league in PK, and St. Louis is 22nd at 75%. The difference is Ottawa is 25% better on the power play. St. Louis clicking at 15% in the early going this year. All 5 of St. Louis's wins have come either in regulation or overtime. Thank goodness. I don't want to see a shootout tonight. I want to see a confident defensive effort. Give me a 4-1 win. Throw in an empty netter in there if you need to, but I would very much like this to be a happy postcast tonight where we can all vibe and feel good about the team, because, again, the Atlantic, it is too early to standings watch. I can appreciate that, but it's never too early to be paying attention to what's going on. And you look at it, Florida's won 3 in a row, Tampa's won 2 in a row, Montreal's won 2 in a row, Toronto and Boston are both coming off wins in their last game, and Detroit got a point, albeit a loser point, against Edmonton in their last game. So that's all winning. And the Ottawa Senators are the longest losing streak in the division right now with 2 straight losses. So points are at a premium. You got to keep rolling them in. And tonight seems like a great night with Pilsy's new Linus Ullmark jersey to have him come in and make a statement that he is the no doubt number 1 guy and that he can be among the league's best. Pilsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
I did have a final thought, and it's escaped me right now. So, you know what? First one, must-win game of the season. I'm with you, Ross. Let's just get a big win here. So I'll give it a classic go Sens go for my final thought.
Okay, a very confident go Sens go. That's Brandon Piller. I'm Ross Levitan. Thank you for watching, listening, subscribing, liking the show. You can go check out our interview yesterday with Graham Creech for more. If not, we'll see you in the Postcast later on tonight. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.